Good morning, everybody. So, thank God it's Friday, is all I have to say. So, it is June the 3rd, and I am so glad that it's Friday. If I sound tired, it is because I am tired. So, now, look, crazy making days are here again, right? So, we think, and look, I do have to. Amber Heard, Johnny Depp, and the star of the hour, who? Elaine. Oh, Elaine. What? Elaine needs a nickname, right? What is our nickname for Elaine? Lord knows she's definitely earned one. It is rare that I can't come up with a funny name, and I simply can't. What does that say about Elaine that I can't come up with a funny name? I commit Chad Daybell. Easy. We got all kinds of names for Chad Daybell. Lori Vallow, same. The most egregious people in the history of the world. We can make fun of them. Elaine? Where are we going to go? What are we going to do with Elaine? Right? So she is lame. Absolutely. Her little 15 minutes of tour on the morning news shows was offensive, is the best way to say it. Elaine, pain in the butt, right, Victor? Hey, lady. Hey, Pink. I can't believe she went. Pink, was it crazy? Was it the rantings of a mad woman? A crazy lady? I'm going to tell y'all that. Lainey, welcome. Hadn't seen you in a while, Lainey. It's good to see you. Elaine the Pain in the bottom. All right. Look, Rotten Bottom, Amber Turd, and what? Okay. So, oh, your wrench is missing, Zelda? Okay, I don't know why it is, but I'll look at it after we finish today. Okay, I'll get it fixed. I'm not sure what happened. Okay, and Elaine is hard to explain. Pink, I find it. Look, it's easy when you're armchair, Monday morning quarterback. It's easy to second guess and say, well, it was so clear what to do, and they didn't. Well, if you were really all that smart, you would be an NFL coach. But the truth is being that armchair quarterback on Monday morning, or being the defense attorney or the judge or whatever the day after the trial, those are easy positions to be in. It's not easy when you're living that moment, correct? And so you see a lot of people, a lot of attorneys that have like YouTube channels and whatnot, and they've all kind of been saying the same thing, and that is that, when you have these cases with sometimes you have clients that are difficult people. Now, I'm going to just go out here on a limb and take a wild guess, but if you guys got the impression that Amber Heard might be a difficult client, put a 1. If you think that Amber is just a peach and would be easy peasy, put a 2. Let's see where we go with that. Hey, Pineapple Princess. Good morning. Welcome. Elaine is my real name. Lainey, I'm a real live Karen, so I get what you're saying, but just remember, you are not your name. You are your actions. Okay, so look, we're all in agreement. She's difficult, right? And I think we began to see the breakdown in the whole defense strategy when her little sticky notes began. Y'all remember seeing that, where she when Rotten Bottom was trying to do closing, arguments before it was his turn to go up, she was frantically writing him notes. I think she was telling him what to say. I think she is one of those people who believes that she's knows more than anybody else. And so if there's an attorney in the room, she believes that she's a better attorney than the trained attorney. If there's a psychologist in the room, she believes that she's knows more than a psychologist. If there's a physician, a cardiologist in the room, she believes, that she knows more about the heart than anybody. I think that goes along with the whole personality disorder problem that was identified by Dr. Curry. And I think that if you are an attorney and your job is to try to help this person get out of the mess that they've created for themselves, and you're foolish enough to allow this troubled woman to begin guiding your trial court strategy, then I think you get exactly what you deserve. And I think in the case of Elaine, I think she was foolish enough to buy into or be manipulated by Amber Heard. If you believe that Elaine has been manipulated by Amber Heard, put a 1. If you think that this is Elaine's normal standard operating procedure, put a 2. How about this one, Karen? That's a really good one. No lame. But what if it's no name Elaine? Because at the end of this fiasco, hitching her wagon to Amber Heard, Elaine is going to lose everything she has worked for. Hey, JP. Right? Both Carol says both 1 and 2. Okay. So I'm not diagnosing anyone. Okay. So I want to be very clear about this. I'm not diagnosing. I'm going by what Dr. Curry said. Now, Dr. Curry is the psychologist, and she did complete a proper forensic evaluation using standard best practices procedures. And so she said that Amber Heard has multiple types of personality disorders, and that there were also many features of different types of personality disorders. And so I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, I believe she diagnosed Amber as having histrionic personality disorder and borderline personality disorder with narcissistic features. And I would say, I think it's a safe bet to say now at this point, with the verdict coming back as it did, the evidence that was provided in the courtroom, it does. I think that some of the things that she engaged in were really consistent with antisocial, some features of antisocial personality disorder. So, the takeaway from this is, well, my gosh, do you give someone like her, do you give them like the whole, baby in bathwater, every known personality disorder diagnosis? No, but when you see someone that is going to fully qualify for 2, 3, 4 different types of personality disorders, I think the takeaway is that this is a really disturbed person that is probably experiencing some extreme symptoms and has some real, they probably have a lot of chaos in their lives, right? So the jury down the line with Dr. Curry and the experts that were put on the stand on the plaintiff's team, and they just totally disregarded Dr. Hughes, And we talked about that. What Dr. Hughes did was really, it was really unusual for that role as a, not a, if she had been a fact witness, if she had been there as the therapist, the provider helping Amber, then I think that her way of testifying would have been perfectly fine and appropriate. But as a forensic evaluator, that is not your role to empower her and process and work through problems. Your role as a forensic evaluator is to assess get a good picture of how this person is functioning in all of the, their adaptive level of functioning in various environments and domains in their lives across multiple time spans. And then come at this realization that when you compare this person's abilities, their behaviors, their orientation and adaptation, when you compare that with the rest of the population in the norming groups of these instruments, theoretically, but if you go from sample to population, everyone, how's she doing? Is she managing okay? Are her relationships fairly stable? And someone that would be able to, that their behaviors would warrant multiple personality disorders, that would be, you would expect that talking to that person that they're dealing with some really big problems in their lives in multiple areas: job, money, relationships, health. I mean, in all of the areas would be affected to some lesser degree. So that being said, part of the whole narcissist, histrionic, borderline, part of that is learning to get the attention that you so badly need, right? It's not that you enjoy the attention. It's not that you like the attention. You need it. It's necessary to be able to cope and function day to day. You and I, being regular people, we're perfectly happy to spend a day or two alone, not seeing another human being, and filling our time with things, enjoying life, right? People having some of these types of personality disorders, that would be misery to not have a mirror that would reflect back to you how you are, who you are. And so that's what happens when somebody with these types of conditions end up spending long periods of time by themselves. They don't have that mirror, and they begin to feel very lost and a little frightened, and that kind of thing, which is one of the reasons why they panic. They fear abandonment, or they panic when somebody is, trying to put some distance, because they've had the realization, hey, this person's needs may be much bigger than what I'm able, to give. And so they back off. Now that, so I think Elaine has been manipulated. I think Elaine is probably a respectable attorney. I think, judging by past reputation, I think she's been a fine attorney. I don't think that what we saw is consistent. I'm going to own this. I'm still saying, I'm not going to speak for you, but for me, what I saw her performance over the last 6 weeks, and then especially yesterday, I don't get the impression that she's a fine attorney. And so at this point, Elaine sort of becomes a cautionary tale of, when you're the expert in the room and you're faced with one of these people that believes they're smarter than you, they know more than you, and they're highly charismatic and manipulative, you better take a step back and remind yourself who the professional actually is, and then go forward with your craft, your profession and do your job and not let the Ambers of the world interfere with what, you know, you are the capable one. Name calling, and, you know, these people that have these difficult personality disorders, when they don't get their way, they have temper tantrums, and their temper tantrums often look like what you would see among small kids with, you know, the name calling, telling you you don't have any friends. And we've seen that before. It's not just Hollywood that these people exist. They exist on YouTube. I mean, we've seen that. We have them in our daily lives. We see it, you know. So you can't let it hurt you. You can't take it to heart when these types of people begin attacking you. You just have to accept that it's their fear that is, you know, motivating them. And so I think Elaine fell victim to that. I don't think Rottenbottom did. I think she was handing these notes to him. I think he was taking them and reading them. But then if you watch, he's putting them away. He's not adding anything to his paper. He's not writing something additional. He's putting it away. But with Elaine, she was. Elaine was making changes. Elaine was asking questions and engaging in conversation after Amber would write something to her. And I'm convinced, based on the testimony, the break, the 10-day break that we had when the judge went to the legal thing, and then they come back and they try to answer, Elaine, the defense, they come back and they try to answer everything that was on social media for why everyone believed Johnny Depp. They tried to manipulate. It was if you look at the testimony and the line of questioning before the break and after the break, things changed dramatically. And then there was a defining moment where, if you remember, Amber gets up, she leaves the room. She doesn't go sit back down at the table. She actually leaves while the jury and the judge are still in the courtroom. And it was a really quite a shocking moment. But I told y'all she was going to do that. I told y'all there would be a grand exit. I was a bit surprised that she didn't actually get up in the middle of her testimony and walk out. I was really expecting that. So she did hold it together and get through at least until it was over, right? But it also ended in quite a curious way, with Elaine seemingly having a temper tantrum and saying, okay, fine, I don't have any more questions. I'm done. We don't have any video of Amber at the time. The cameras were on Elaine. And part of me wonders, did they have a sign? Did they have a sign that said, Amber was able to say, I'm about to blow my top, time to end this? Is that what prompted Elaine to just whoosh, end it? Everybody in that courtroom, their jaw dropped when she said that. There was plenty of more questioning to be done. There was speculation that she was angry with Camille, or she was embarrassed, or she was angry with Amber. But Amber getting up and making her grand exit, I sort of think they must have had a sign, and Amber was like, I'm done. I'm about to walk out of here, so you better get me out off the stand. Is my, kind of what I think might have happened. So in the Me Too movement, I'm definitely gonna be talking about that singing piranha. I'm not gonna say that it destroyed the Me Too movement. I think what it did is it took the Me Too movement mainstream and made it more rational. I think it's disingenuous and it's just flat out wrong to say that a man cannot be abused by a woman. I think that's flat out wrong. I think Johnny Depp was abused by his mother. And I think Johnny Depp probably has a tendency to get into relationships with women that are very passionate. Let me put it that way. If you notice, he doesn't get into a lot of relationships. It's a fairly rare thing for him to be identified with one person. But we know that with the way they got married, she manipulated that. She got the legal marriage done very quickly, soon after having a temper tantrum and a big fight where she attacked him. I think the plan all along, I'm more convinced than ever now that she was going after money. It is what I think. And maybe she was hoping that would improve her career. But when you look at how badly things went for her overall career, she is not an actress. Can we be honest? It was terrible, right? It was terrible. Have you guys watched any of the stuff she's done? It's terrible. It's not a little bit bad. It's terrible. She, as an actress, she's not believable on the screen. She doesn't, there's no, you don't feel any connection to her. Listen to this. She is supposed to be among the most beautiful of women, right? She's supposed to be right up there with the beauties of the world. And yet we don't seem to make a connection to her. Have you noticed that? Would you ever, as a woman, would you ever have believed that you wouldn't naturally be gravitating toward the woman's position? And let's be honest, people want to say, well, it's Johnny Depp, heartthrob of America, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'll own that 30 years ago, but he's not so hunky right now. Look, for his age, he looks wonderful. Okay. I'm not talking about the age, but he's sort of taken this grunge look and he's really embraced it. And I'm sure that's because of the whole music industry that he, wants to be a part of so badly. But you didn't have professional women, attorneys and whatnot. You didn't have them siding with Johnny Depp because he's a hottie. These were the plaintiff was supported by a lot of women of every age, of every level of education and training. There were those people saying, oh, he's so cute, he's so hot, he's my favorite actor. But then there were other groups going, hey, hold on a minute. I listened to the evidence. I have a son. I wouldn't want my son to find one of the Ambers of the world and have his life destroyed because she's so troubled and her manipulation is so poisonous, right? There were so many of us that are really, have stood firm on the side of, give women equal pay for equal work, and we have choices to do what we want to do, and it's our bodies. And I mean, we've all been there, watched our moms fight for the right to have a career. And we're all there. I mean, this is not a woman versus man problem. This is not a woman versus man social issue where politically the woman was undermined. Absolutely not. This was a situation that took a really progressive movement, MeToo, where it was, believe every woman, sight unseen, no questions asked, disregard whatever you hear to the contrary. If a woman speaks up, she should be immediately canonized and given sainthood, and that made to believe that she, every word out of her mouth is gospel truth. And don't even entertain the thought that she could actually be one of those women that we really don't want to be associated with. And I think the very minute that you keep all things equal, all the same evidence, everything exactly like it all played out, and you remove Johnny Depp, the persona, the movie star, the guy we all grew up with. You remove Johnny Depp, and then you put in some man in your life that you know to be a good, decent human being, whether it's your son or your son-in-law or one of the friends of your son or your dad or one of your dad's friends or your grandpa, your brother. As soon as you insert a normal person, instead of it being this, heralded movie star, you put in a normal guy, and all of this evidence remains exactly the same. What do you realize? You realize that it was contrived. And it looks like, even with the video of Elaine, no name Elaine, being at the red carpet event, the opening of Rum Diary. There's a picture of her. She's right there, front line with the camera, taking videos of Johnny Depp. Why? She wouldn't have known Johnny Depp in 2012. So there are a lot of things that seem, and let me just say this too. I'm perfectly willing to accept that maybe that is somebody edited the video and inserted her, use CGI to insert her into the line. So I'm not above believing that. I mean, I know that people with computer skills can do amazing things. So it's perfectly possible. But nevertheless, I think what the judge in the UK did not have is he did not hear the audio recordings. There's an eye-opener, no name Elaine. There's you an eye-opener. You want to blame, you want to look for a reason why the verdict in the UK was different than the verdict in the United States. There's a starting point. In the United States, the audio was accepted. It was used. In the UK, the judge chose to throw it out. That's the most egregious thing I've ever heard of. And everybody in the UK said it was egregious. Throws out direct audio recordings that are coming from Amber Heard, but accepted hearsay from people that were not even there. Accepted hearsay from people like Dr. Hughes, who simply was a human tape recorder and just got up on the stand to tell Amber's narrative for Amber. But Hughes was not using anything to get additional data. It was the same old data. It was Amber talking to her after the fact, years after the abuse ended. Okay, well, here's something I've never heard of. Okay, well, we're going to give you this instrument for PTSD, but you're not going to be answering for like today and what's happened over the last year, because your trauma and everything that happened was 6 years ago. So I just want you to like rewind to 6 years ago and answer the questions today the way you would have answered them 6 years ago. That's hogwash. They didn't do anything of the sort when they were norming those particular instruments. It has no connection at all with the proper utility of the instrument. So there was a lot of funny business in the UK. Here's another question that I would pose to no name Elaine. You're going on in the UK. You had a judge. The judge that was making the rules was the same judge that ultimately gave the verdict. The same judge that disallowed a mountain of evidence that would have supported Johnny Depp was telling the truth. The only thing that you did allow in that the appellate court ever saw was stuff that you thought before the before the trial, that you said this is going to support the female side of the story, aka the son. Elaine, you seem to be incredibly confused. Amber has never won her case. You know why? Because she's only been the defendant in one case, and that was the case that just went overwhelmingly for Johnny Depp. You've never won. Never. The case in the UK was the newspaper. Amber was just a witness, and what she testified to was just hearsay, because they didn't allow true evidence to come in, like the audio, like the eyewitnesses that were there that worked for Johnny Depp or had known Johnny Depp for years and years. Well, Elaine didn't have, Amber didn't have that, because she alienates everyone that comes into contact with her. They're her best friends. Did y'all pick up on that? Oh, it's my best friend. It's one of my best friends. I'd just like to ask, you guys, how many best friends have you guys had across your lifespan? You don't typically go around going, oh yeah, that was one of my best friends. I've had like 30 best friends across my life. No, I have one best friend across my life. I've had an awful lot of friends. I've had a lot of acquaintances, but just one best friend, right? The one that's true blue. You could call on anytime, day or night. They would respond. Doesn't matter if you hadn't talked to them in 3 months or 3 years. They're right there for you, whatever you need, right? So you got to think of, we get really good at listening to the, Dr. Ramani or Dr. Grande. You get really good at listening to the diagnostic criteria and whatnot. It's a totally different experience when you're faced with one of these people that is struggling so badly. When you're faced with their actual behavior, it gets a little bit harder to name, right? But you can go down that checklist, those diagnostic checklists, and you can check off and go, yeah, they proved Amber did that. They proved Amber did that. They proved Amber did that. And it, and you're like, oh, okay, so this is what borderline personality disorder looks like. I think that there are some professionals that are a little fast on the draw to give some of these big diagnoses to. I think that borderline is one of those big ones. Borderline and antisocial personality disorder. These are really, really profound conditions. I think that there's people that can have like depression with borderline tendencies. But you've got some people, they hear, oh, they're cutting. Okay, cutting is always associated with borderline. We're going to give them that diagnosis. And you're like, but hold on, there's other diagnostic criteria. Maybe you're jumping the gun. Maybe this is someone who learned this whole cutting thing from a movie, and they're just giving it a try to see. Maybe they're passive aggressive and they're using the cutting as a weapon to upset the mother. I mean, there's a lot of ways around a borderline diagnosis. Just because you have cutting as one of the factors, it doesn't mean knee-jerk, borderline, right? So I think that's been part of the culprit for why people have sort of backlashed on the messaging and the information about borderline, and they felt a need to sort of rehabilitate the idea of the condition and say, people that have borderline are good, decent people. I agree with all of that. I know a lot of people in my personal life as well as, professionally, but but again, I'm going to tell you, a lot of these people, I just think maybe somebody jumped the gun on that. You know what my conceptualization is, you know, you give somebody a borderline or an antisocial diagnosis, that's got to be somebody who is significantly impaired, affected by their dysfunctional behavior in a couple of different settings. I think some professionals are not reading the profoundness that is addressed in the DSM-5. To receive one of these big diagnoses, you should see a history that looks very similar to Amber, right? I mean, it should be something where you see early disruption that was very difficult, that's caused, she's encountered the same types of problems over and over and over and over, not ever recognizing that she has the ability to control it or change her behavior. And I just think that a lot of people have been given those diagnoses and it's really not warranted. And I feel bad for them because now they have this diagnosis. Now, the good part of having the diagnosis, let me say this, the good part of getting that diagnosis, if you are having these symptoms, is that we know that the best treatment is dialectical behavior therapy. And I'm going to tell you, really, any condition that you're having going through dialectical DBT is a really good idea. It's a really great therapy. You get the CBT component, and then they added this component for how do you manage the emotional regulation is a big part, and getting organized and learning to get in touch with your internal emotional life as well as the behavioral dysregulation. So DBT is just a great therapy. I think it has a lot of use among many different conditions. But most specifically, it's come to be, if you hear, you know, borderline, you automatically think dialectical. If you hear DBT, you automatically think borderline. And so that's the good part of having the diagnosis being identified, is that automatically gets you routed to a really great therapy, right? So there, I'm not saying that people getting the diagnosis is always a bad thing. I'm not saying that at all. But I think that we have to be careful that reducing the severity of the condition, because you're trying to help somebody, because you want that person to be able to get access to the proper type of treatment. I think if we reduce that, then you get exactly what we got now. People begin to get upset and say, well, I have bipolar, borderline, but when I hear people talk about people with borderline and how crazy they are and how awful they are and how they hurt people, that's not me. I don't hurt people. In fact, I'm the exact opposite. I really am more likely to hurt myself than to hurt someone else. Then they personalize, they get upset when they hear somebody kind of saying, wow, borderline is really tough. You know, they think, no, I'm just a normal person. I'm just trying to do better in my relationships and work and whatnot. So it's a complicated, it's a complicated problem, and I'm trying to understand it, but still I stand by what I say. And it is, if you actually really listen to what the DSM is telling you about these conditions like borderline and antisocial personality, histrionics a bit different, but bipolar, borderline and antisocial, these are some really profound conditions. And when I mean profound, I mean these are conditions that the people affected, it's just chaos. Their history is just filled with chaos, right? And there's a lot of emotional dysregulation, so there's a lot of anger. We can easily hear that in the audio recordings. We can hear Amber go from, "Oh, I'm so sorry, baby. Oh, I'm so sorry, sweetheart," and then just, "I don't know why you say that. Why do you say that? Why do you say that? I hate you. I kid your baby." And now she's just screaming the most horrible things at it. And it's like within seconds. You're like, wow, I've never heard that from anybody I know. So we have to be careful not to generalize these terms to everybody and deal with the reality. And I think the reality is that what we've seen, the history, what we've heard on the audio tapes, that is what people are thinking of when they hear that diagnosis, borderline personality disorder, that more extreme kind of position. And frankly, I think Elaine fell victim to that. The charismatic side. And I think that we've seen that Amber, even in some of these question and answer videos that have come out, she looks like she has dual personality. She starts out, she's smiling, she's beautiful, she's so sweet. And next thing you know, she's just the eyes of a snake. She looks like she is going to pounce on the interview and bite their throat out. Then she messages somebody off camera that's helping her, and she talks to them like they're dirt. And then when it's time to answer the question, she goes back to being beautiful and smiling again. And so it's so disconcerting, because you're thinking, wow, I just saw two different human beings. Which one is the real you? And the answer to that is neither one. I literally think she doesn't quite know who she is. I think she's a mirror. We see in the photographs in the history, she even began dressing like Johnny Depp. It's crazy, right? And that other lady, that Evan something, that accused Marilyn Manson of abuse or something. She changed as well. Like when she first started going out with Marilyn Manson, and then very quickly, within a few months, now you can't tell the two apart. I mean, she was even cutting her hair. And there's other photos with other men that she's dated, and she did exactly the same thing and became the female version of the man that she was dating. So it's very, very strange to see that type of, pattern. So I think, unfortunately, Elaine was sucked into the madness. Okay. I think she was, whether she was baffled by the brilliance of Amber Heard's beauty, or she was dazzled from the rubbing elbows with the rich and famous. I don't know what left her open to influence, but somehow Elaine left herself open to influence. And unfortunately, probably the most unhealthy person in the room got into Elaine's mind and messed up the case, because Amber thought she knew better than the attorneys. Amber thought that she was smarter than they were. I think Rottenbottom did not change what he was doing, because really, when he spoke, when he worked, it was good, right? A lot of people got nervous, in fact. But every time that Elaine tried, it was just a mess. It was just disorganized and lacked substance. And on the one hand, she claims, freedom of speech to slander Johnny Depp with lies. And then on the very next moment, she's saying, but Amber should get to tell her truth. Like, okay, no name Elaine, but what's it going to be? It can't be rules for me and rules for thee. We need to have a standard here. Is everybody just going to be able to publicly lie about everybody else and destroy careers? Or as long as the information is factual, Then they can tell what they and say what they want to do. You can't just say whatever you want to say. You can't just come out with a lie on another person and then say it, and knowing it's a lie when you claim it, intentionally lying about someone to harm their reputation. For example, I have a YouTube channel. If there's another YouTube creator who decides they don't like me and they make up lies about me and tell people, they have committed slander and are going to go to court. Right? So when you say something like that in public, take a hardline stance, you've got to be able to prove that what you're saying is factual. I've had some messages from people saying, I can't believe you stopped talking about Barry Morphew. How could you do that? You know, why would you quit talking about? Well, I quit talking about Barry Morphew for a couple of reasons. Number one, the case was dropped. And I'm not going to go by what I feel. I'm going to go by what the law is saying. And if this guy got within 2 or 3 days of a trial, and then suddenly the district attorney drops the charges, the intelligent, good sense part of me is going to say, okay, hold on, something must be going on, and maybe the guy is innocent. So I don't know. I don't have any evidence. I'm not there on the ground conducting, interviews. I don't know. But the fact that they spent that much money getting him to court, he spent 8 months in jail, and then they dropped the charges 2 or 3 days before the trial. I'm smart enough to know you don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole, not with his litigious attorney. Well, I'm really glad now that I made that decision, and it was a really hard decision for me to make, because I will say this, and I think I could defend myself in a court of law by saying this, that the evidence that has been put out, that we know, that we've seen, it creates one of those situations of, well, nobody else could have done it. Like, it sure seems like he did it. There's really no other explanation that fits with all of the facts that have been laid out. So, but then she jumps up and drops the charges. Now what we know is this. I believe it was yesterday, Linda Stanley, the district attorney, had her law license suspended. Did y'all know that? She had her law license suspended. Okay, so you gasp and you go, damn, Linda. Well, remember, now this is the same woman that went on his stupid YouTube channel. And everybody's going, wait a minute. Isn't there like this big trial going on? Is this okay? Should you be doing this? She even got sanctioned for doing it, right? Well, so how did she lose her? Why is her license suspended? Here's why. And this is going to, this is a big light flashing on the Barry Morphew case when everybody said, holy hell, what went wrong? I'm about to tell you what went wrong, or at least what I think went wrong. Yesterday, her license was suspended. It was suspended because she did not keep up with her continuing education hours. Now, wrap your mind around that. You're a professional that spent $100,000 or more to get your degree. You spent another $5,000, $10,000 to pass the bar exam. You've got multiple years of experience, and you get elected as district attorney, and then you just decide, oh, well, those continuing education hours, I don't think I want to worry about that anymore. Crazy. It's crazy. So I don't know if Linda is drinking. I don't know if Linda is severely depressed, but something happened to Linda that drew her level of conscientiousness down. That she previously was high functioning, and she's going through something that caused her to be quite distracted and not tend to her business, period. So what's going to happen to Linda? Well, here's what's going to happen to Linda 9 times out of 10 is, she's going to work her ass off for the next 45 hours. She's got to get probably the next 2 weeks is going to be nothing but finding continuing education hours that are virtual and try to get all her hours up to snuff. And then she'll turn them in, and then they'll give her back her law license. Now, it's possible, because there are other issues questioning her competency, it's possible that she may have to rehabilitate her license. She may have to redo some of these steps and prove, no, I'm okay. I went through a divorce. I was a little distracted, whatever the problem is that resulted in her just neglecting to earn these 45 hours. It's shocking. But here's what I want to say about that in terms of the light shining on what went wrong with the Barry Morphew case. What was the main theme of all of the motions by the super lawyers and the judge's consternation and irritation with the defense, not the defense, prosecution? What was at the heart of all of it? Not meeting deadlines, not turning over discovery, not being where you're supposed to be. But I mean, we had some days they couldn't even get to courtroom on time. Who was the one that was the head of the ship? Who was the one that was driving this whole thing? Linda Stanley. And if the head of the ship is irresponsible and demonstrates low conscientiousness, then everybody else is going down. If you're at the top, it's your job to set the standards. And once you set the standards, you have to oversee deadlines. You have to make sure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing. And if she doesn't have enough forethought, she's not in the moment enough sufficiently to say, hey, in 6 months, I'm going to be reapplying to renew my license. If she doesn't, I better get my continuing education hours done or whatever. Then I better get on it. If she can't do that, to do something as simple as continuing education hours in order to hold on to the most valuable thing that you have. Your license is the most valuable thing that you have. Not talking about your family, obviously, but everything else, house, investments, all that. That license is everything for a professional. Not getting your contingent education hours is like not paying your mortgage. It's exactly like not paying your mortgage. So how in the world was she going to be present and being focused and attentive to the day-to-day demands of the investigation and the prosecution if she wasn't even able to make sure she had her 45 hours by the deadline? If she wasn't able to say, hey, you know what? I think it would be really fun to go on the YouTube channel and talk to my friends, but it would be really unethical. And I'm a professional and I'm the one driving the ship, and I probably should avoid that while this big trial is going on. Right? So I think that's what went wrong with the Barry Morphew case is I think Elaine is having a problem, and depression will cause this type of reaction where people get very, very depressed. They have a really hard time focusing. They lose track of the days. And many times people that their house is going to foreclosure, you find out they actually were dealing with major depressive disorder for months, and it just overwhelmed their ability to pay attention and keep up with what they needed to. So that, at that point now, I'm going, we don't really know if she wasn't present enough to get those 45 hours and to know that she probably should stay away from talking about the case on a YouTube channel while the case is going on. I'm willing to now give Barry Morphew the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to be stupid. Something went wrong. And until we know, and there are investigations that are happening. I'm talking about investigations into Linda Stanley and other people associated with the Barry Morphew investigation. So until we get some kind of real handle on what part of the information that was put out was accurate and what part may have been juiced up a little bit, I'm not willing. I'm willing to say the story that's been told might not be what actually took place in Salida. So self-preservation, right? Being a loyal fan of the truth sometimes puts you in an unpopular position. Now, I think Elaine with the Johnny Depp defamation case brought against Amber, I think Elaine was I think she was seduced by Amber and the focus on Johnny Depp, and I think that confused her, and I think she lost sight of who the professional in the room was, and I think she was swayed by Amber. I think she let Amber push her to do and say things that really were not in line with like what Rotten Bottom's theory of the case was, and I think that's why it just didn't. Of course, it could have been that it was all contrived and bullshit to begin with, and it's a little bit hard to make BS look like fact, right? Can we be honest? One thing that I noticed is I just never felt a connection to Amber. I was never able to find that empathetic mom kind of feeling or best friend kind of feeling. Oh my goodness, this is not what it looks like. She's been victimized and he is a bad guy. And I couldn't get there. And this is a guy covered in tattoos, hanging out with Marilyn Manson, drinking up a storm. All of those factors that are supposed to convince us that he is a bad, scary guy. Stay away from him. They're all in place, but you can't get to Amber. You can't make the connection with her. And then you listen to the audio tapes, and what you hear is a man who is trying desperately to set some healthy boundaries. He's practically pleading with her in a couple of the tapes. He's pleading, please don't hit me. Don't hit me. He sounds like a victim. He doesn't sound scary. He doesn't sound like a scary, badass, tattooed Marilyn Manson, insane guy. He sounds like a man who just wants to be left alone. And she sounds maniacal. That cackling laughter is crazy, right? All right, so I think Elaine got sucked into the madness. I think she got influenced, and I think it led her to let Amber be the attorney. And I think it did not serve her case well at all. And I can't imagine for the life of me what Elaine is doing on these talk shows. They've called everyone a liar except for Amber. And on the talk shows now, Elaine has called the jury liars. And you say, what? What do you mean? She didn't call them liars. Why are you saying that? Oh, yes, she did. How did she call them liars? Because she said over the 10-day break that they were all on social media reading and seeing everything that was being said and done. And that's why they went with Johnny Depp. And I'm going, Elaine, I hate to be the one voice of reason here, but who actually showed the jury what social media was doing? It wasn't the 10-day break done by the judge. It was your expert witness that got up on the stand and said that the top tweet was justice for Johnny. Your guy did that, right? It's crazy. I don't know if she's thinking. I don't know if she's thinking clearly. It's weird. But when that evidence came in and they were saying, you had 4 million tweets, Amber Turd made Johnny Depp's security guard leave the courtroom because he was laughing so hard he couldn't get himself back under control, right? They introduced that to the jury. So I'm not even sure, because I'm not an attorney, I'm a psychologist, but I'm not even sure if they tried to get an appeal on the time frame that the judge was off the bench. I could see them going and saying, hey, that was 10 days. Social media was aflame with the Johnny Depp stuff. And we believe that the jury was reading social media, and that's why they gave the verdict they did. I don't even think an appellate court is going to be able to accept that. It's a very good argument, but I don't think that the appellate court will accept it because they're going to get up and they're going to go say, yeah, judge, that's all true. But look at the evidence they put into, like, submitted to the court as official evidence. And as soon as the appellate judges read, you put Justice for Johnny as the top rated tweet of all time on social media, that you put that in. So I think her morning, walk of fame or walk of shame. I thought it was a walk of shame. She probably thought it was a walk of fame. I think it was her grasping to try and make herself look good. I think she had a realization that she really messed up her professional image. But Elaine, it didn't work, honey. It didn't work because you called the jury unethical and liars and unprincipled people. You effectively said the only person that should be believed is Amber, and the only reason that we should believe Amber is because she has boobs. And that's just simply not rational, Elaine. And if you were in your right mind, you would also know that it's not rational. It is not rational to say we must believe this person because of their, female X chromosome, female genetics. It's just irrational when you're talking about abuse, right? Let me ask you guys this question. Let's say there's a little kid who's getting beat up by a parent. Beat up, black eyes, broken bones, the real deal, bad, right? Not spankings, but real, beat up. What's the first word out of your mouth? Are you going to say, oh, was it the mom or was it the dad? Or you're not going to give a damn what the gender was of the person beating the child. You just want that child protected from that monster. If you agree, put a 1. If you disagree, put a 2. Okay. So most people are like, yeah, I don't care what the gender is. I don't care if it's the mom doing it or if it's the dad doing it. All I care about is there's a little kid who's not being treated properly and they need to be protected from the person that's doing it. That's all you care about, right? So why is it in a case connected to the Me Too movement, if there is an outcry of abuse, beatings, injustice, being slandered, does it matter what the gender is? No, it doesn't. I think that Amber had a really hard time proving that career-wise, Johnny Depp's or Adam Waldman, that they did something that ended her opportunities and careers. I think it was already ending. I think she saw the writing on the wall. She knew where it was headed. But it's clear with Johnny Depp that it was just this slamming door in his face. And at the time, he was one of the top grossing actors of all time, not just for men, but all time and international. He's got top hit movies that were done in France and in the United States. I mean, he's, and then suddenly it stops because his wife says he did these things to me. So I am not going to believe that 5 million people are collectively all suffering the same insanity. Nearly 5 million people have taken the trouble of going and signing petitions to whether it's ACLU or removing her from Aquaman to whatever. But there are people so impassioned by this egregious thing that she's done to him that they're willing to go through all the trouble of finding the petition and taking the time to sign their name to it. That matters. If there's 5 million people willing to take the time to do it, then I guarantee you there's 10 million more out there who just didn't feel like signing it. Are you really going to tell us that Amber, the few people that believe her, we're about to get into those few people in a minute, the few people that believe her, you're going to tell me that all of those 5-10 million people are all sharing the same psychosis, that this is a poor abuse victim, and what you're hearing on those audio tapes is not really what it seems like, and what the photograph. Do you know, listen to this, I heard this yesterday, I was just dumbfounded. Not one of the photographs that was submitted by Amber Heard, not one was in its original format. Not one. Every single photograph that she submitted was in a photo editing software and had been saved and resaved 4, 5, 6 times. Not one was in its original format. Did you know that Amber Heard never turned over her own text, her own device? Never. What did Johnny Depp do? He turned over his and a couple of others. Paul Betancourt turned his over. All of his friends turned them over. Everybody turned their phones and said, take everything that's out and piece together a timeline. But Amber Heard did not turn over hers. None of her friends, best friends, who were living in Johnny Depp's houses, not one of them could be bothered to get on an airplane and come and get on the stand where they would face cross-examination. Not one. And when they did do their easy peasy deposition, they looked terrified. What are they afraid of? What's Rocky afraid of? What what prompted that full-grown woman to weep and cry and literally say nothing? What's she scared of? She had an attorney in the room with her. What's she scared of? So I'm fairly angry now, as you can tell. I'm fairly angry at the, we believe you, Amber movement. And here is why. I want to share this with you. Oh my God, I'm so glad it is Friday. I am weary. All right, here we go. This is why I'm angry. This hashtag right here in blue, that's hashtag cut for Amber. You know what that is? Well, I'll tell you, it started yesterday. What this is Amber Heard supporters that are engaging in self-harm, and they're taking photographs and video of cutting themselves and watching it bleed, and then they're posting it on Twitter and other social media, TikTok and whatnot, as a show of support for Amber Heard. Now, how many of you guys think that that's even remotely healthy? Is it even normal that someone would go, I know what we should do. We have to help Amber. We have to give her support. Let's all show her our blood. Let's bleed for Amber. Right? Okay. That is an abundance of emotion. That is inappropriate emotion. It is incongruent to the situation. In other words, it's just crazy. Now, what do you think? You think, oh, well, Amber is going to have to come out and make a statement, right? Amber's going to have to come out and make a statement and say, hey, guys, I love y'all. Y'all are my best supporters. You mean everything to me. I don't want not one person hurt because of me. I don't want even not one person to shed their blood for me. I don't want that. In fact, I think what the best revenge is for me and every one of you to live well. The best revenge, the best thing that you can do that would help me is for you to get strong, for you to do better. And that will help me be strong and for me to be better. Right? Does that sound logical? Does that sound normal that she would come out and encourage her supporters not to harm themselves? Correct? If that is what you would do, immediately, as soon as you find this out, you're rushing to social media to just plead with your supporters. Please, my God, don't hurt yourself. Here are some phone numbers that people you can call. Call your mental health provider. Don't do this. It's worth it. I'm not cutting myself. You should not cut yourself, right? If you would do that, put a 1. I just want to, and we've got like 150 people. I want to see 150 ones. Okay. Sincerely, 150 ones, people saying, oh, absolutely. I would encourage every person to be healthy, not to, harm themselves in my name, that the best way to support me is to love me and show love and kindness, not self-harm toward yourself, the whole 9 yards, right? Now, Eve Barlow. Yeah. Eve Barlow, look at the ones. Thank y'all. Thank y'all so much for that, because I think this is something we need to be speaking about. We need to be screaming it from the rafters. No self-harm. Do not shed blood for anyone. That is not what you want to do. If you're at a level that is feeling like something that you might do to get a bit of relief, then go for a walk, call your psychiatrist or your psychologist, your counselor or therapist, and go in and talk about how you're feeling and use your DBT skills and calm the emotional storm. That you don't know Amber Heard. She is only a persona, in the same way that Wile E. Coyote is a persona. We don't know these people. They don't know us. We know the public image and we know what we saw in trial. But there's nothing that you and I can do that would bring Amber comfort. She doesn't know us. There's no way to do that. She is with her family right now. She is taking comfort from her family and her friends. And that's what all of the supporters should be doing if they are that distressed that they want to start a movement or what they're calling a social media trend cut for Amber. I'm telling you, if I was Amber Heard, I would be mortified. I would be mortified that this group of troubled people had decided to make me their, blood guru. I just wouldn't accept it. Now, Eve Barlow, who is Amber Heard's partner, I don't think they're married. Are they married? I don't think they're married. I think they're, lovers or live to get parent. They're sharing parenting with the child. So many people believe she was making tweets right up to the verdict. And many people believe, based on the tone of the tweets and that the syntax changed, that was actually Amber Heard who was speaking through Eve Barlow, her account. Well, yesterday, Eve Barlow put up a tweet pushing the hashtag cut for Amber, pushing it, supporting it. Think about that. So rather than Amber Heard actually like making a video where they can see her face and her appealing to them to not self-harm, to use their coping skills, get out their safety plans, know what they need to do and respond in a healthy, effective manner, her girlfriend comes out and says, do it. It's a great way to show support for women. Thankfully, rational, cooler heads began really petitioning Twitter. And I'm not sure about what's going on with TikTok, but because I don't do TikTok, but on Twitter, there was this massive push through the early morning hours, to report all of these pictures, any pro comments for, yeah, you should cut yourself. All of those people were deleting the comments. And I think Eve Barlow may have lost her account. I can't find it this morning. There is an Eve Barlow, but it looks like it was just a fake one, not the real girl. But the one that was posting from a few days back seems to be gone at this point. Her account was at Eve_Barlow, and it seems like it's gone. So I think that one must have been deleted, banned, blocked, right? Okay, so they've pulled as much of that down. Every time a new picture will pop up, it's only minutes. It comes down as well. So they at least this is one of those situations that Twitter is taking this seriously, thank God, and removing it. The only thing I've seen Twitter ever remove was always politically based stuff. So I'm really glad to see that they're taking this off, because that can be really triggering for people to see the photographs, and whatnot. So thank goodness that Twitter is being responsible and, addressing, this thing. So the reason that I wanted to bring that up is because I feel like it's just it's another piece of data. It's another piece of evidence that we experienced. We saw it. I saw the tweet where Eve _ Barlow stood up on Twitter and said, yes, thank you. This is Amber is so honored. You're honored to have people harming themselves because your fraud didn't work. So anyone who wants to say, oh, borderline is okay, please don't refer to Amber. I agree with you. A lot of people have that diagnosis, very mild symptoms, not the stereotypical, like movie kind of borderline. I think Amber Heard is a dangerous person based on the factual stuff that came out in the trial. I would be a little bit afraid to be her friend. I would be a little bit afraid to expose my children to her. I would be very discerning, watching her mood, trying to move away from her as she gets unstable. I would be very careful. I think they went to great lengths to do some real harm with Johnny Depp. It's very interesting. I think that's where I'm going to end it today. But I did want to come out and just give my experience for how I think that Amber has really hurt other people by just being Amber. I think interfering in her defense caused some of the attorneys to forget that they were the professional in the room. I think that putting up Dr. Hughes in a way to counteract what Dr. Curry said, I think that people that have borderline, I think it hurt them. I think they felt an allegiance at that point, and they found it difficult to sort of find that line, that delineation between me and her. And I think they got really enmeshed with Amber's experience and kind of took it as their own. And it's not. If you're one of those people that you really really aligned with Amber and you really supported her and you really felt like she was misunderstood, try to pull back a little bit and watch some movies, read some stuff not connected to Amber or Johnny Depp. Get your mind focused off on something else. Pull back away from all this Johnny Depp coverage and make that separation. There's not a single human being on the planet that is worth you spilling one drop of blood. Not anywhere. You're valuable on your own 2 feet. You have to be your best cheerleader and you have to keep yourself healthy. That is the name of the game. And Amber has to stand on her 2 feet. Amber has to be able to get herself healthy and not rely on all of you to show support to her. She has to do that on her own, and you have to take care of your health. Please, 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 please. All right. I agree, Diane. I absolutely agree. Does anyone think she's similar to Casey Anthony? I think she is exactly like Casey Anthony. I didn't say that. You didn't hear me say that. Well, come on, Lainey. So let's think about that for a second, okay? What was the one thing that Casey Anthony did that your jaw hit the ground? I know what it was for me. I was absolutely blown away by the fact that Casey Anthony was willing to lie and lie and lie and lie about where she worked, to the point that she actually took the detectives into the office space at Disney World. But she was a liar. And people were going, we don't know her. She doesn't work here. Why is she here and acting like she belongs here? Right? Wasn't that crazy? That was crazy, wasn't it? You're sitting there and you're going, okay, wait a minute. You're going to tell me she could not find an exit out of her lie anywhere between her house to the police station, days, weeks arrested, and then ultimately to actual Disney World, or maybe it was Universal, whichever theme park it was. I'm going to tell you what she was thinking. She was thinking that they were testing her, that they really would not want to talk to her boss, that they would really not ever go that far. And she just had to be willing to go a little bit further than they were. And that's why she was not able. In fact, she didn't say, okay, guys, I lied, until she was in the offices at the door and there was literally nowhere else to turn. They said she turned around, she looked at them, she smiled, and she said, I lied. Now, ask yourself, in what world would you ever put yourself in that situation? Never. We all tell little white lies. People go through their day-to-day lives and things come up, and maybe somebody comes into your office and says, hey, could you help me do X, Y, and Z? And you're like, oh my God, I got so much work to do. And you say, you know what? I'm not going to be able to. I've already promised I'm going to be in a meeting, or I'm going to be doing this. And really you didn't, but you just need, you just didn't want to give up that valuable time you needed for your own stuff. People do that. And I don't think there's, I think the number of people that admit to those little white lies is nearly universal. But what you don't do is invent a complete fabrication of reality and then try to support it. And my next video, I'm actually going to put up testimony by Amber, and I'm going to point out things that make me believe that she was fabricating a story on the bench as she was talking. And I think Lainey is right on the money. I think it is so reminiscent of Casey Anthony that we'd be foolish to ignore it. It is so similar. The audacity, right? The audacity of the lies, the audacity of the behaviors. It's so far outside of normal human behavior, but because they're both very beautiful and attractive, people go with it. People believe them. It's wrong. It shouldn't happen, but it does. She did get away with it, and it just about killed her mom and dad. Yep. My favorite thing to say is, sorry, I have a commitment. There you go, Snickers. I'm with you. Oh, gee, I wish I could. I've got to commit. But I honestly will say this. I've never done that if I, was just lazy and not wanting to do it. Sometimes you got to defend your boundaries, right? You got a lot of work. You got a deadline coming. Somebody comes in, tries to pull you away from that. Sometimes you just got to take a breath and just be firm, but be kind, right? All right. Well, that is something that's being discussed, taboo. There is an investigation going on in the UK for perjury after, and now that they pretty much went with Johnny Depp down the line, that bodes poorly for Amber. So she may find herself in trouble again in the UK. I don't think it would be hard. It would be hard for me to believe that the court system here would bring charges against her. I could be totally wrong. The better place for you to learn about that is to go over to Emily D. Baker's channel. Go to Emily Baker's channel. She's probably already addressed it, and she's an attorney, you know. But also one of the jurors, well, I'm a bit hesitant about this because it was Joseph Morris, who is a YouTuber, and Joseph got in trouble with the whole Gabby Petito case. He got in trouble because he took some footage, he lied about it, and he got caught. Now, he lost quite a few subscribers, but a lot of people stayed with him. They were loyal. But I'm a little hesitant sometimes when I listen to him because I always remember that. And I think, is this clickbait? Is he trying to get views, you know? But he claims that there is someone that went on TikTok, one of the jurors, who made a couple of TikTok videos addressing things related to jury deliberation. The guys being anonymous. But one of the things, and a lot of the stuff that's being said, it could have been just anybody pretending because it was all out there, you know, being talked about. But one of the things that he did say that I kind of guessed, so it makes sense to me, is that the Adam Waldman statement, the one charge that they agreed with Amber on and gave her $2 million, he said that was a compromise, that there was a person who thought that both Johnny Depp and Amber Heard were hurting each other, that it was a mutual thing, and that there wasn't a real victim. They were both behaving badly. I think the evidence shows that's not true, but ultimately, so that person, they said, well, what if we give you one of the charges and award some damages? And that's how they got the unanimous vote for Johnny Depp, is by agreeing to give one to Amber, even though they didn't believe it. So that made sense to me, right? I know, Eve Barlow. It's hard, isn't it? Because he totally misled that whole Instagram out on a boat. You know, he did. And it was the epitome of clickbait. But also, you know, he does a lot of good videos too. So I do watch his channel. If I see stuff, I take it with a grain of salt. I use it to maybe go do more, you know, investigation. Popcorn Planet is one of my go-to channels. I don't miss a single day watching Popcorn Planet. So yeah. But anyway, we'll see. You know, I think eventually some of the jurors may come out and talk. Maybe juror number 9 is my guess that he might be the one that would come out and talk. Juror number 8 that did not do deliberations, I think she also might eventually come out and give her thought on what she experienced. But all right. So those are kind of my wind down thoughts on this Amber Heard, Johnny Depp verdict. In my opinion, did they get it right? I think they definitely got it right, but not the Adam Waldman statement. You know, I did a video. You can find it on my channel. I guess I can link it to this video, but I did the video on Adam Waldman, calling him a hero, that Adam Waldman was the hero that we had all hoped that Whitney would be. And that he did a really good thing by putting out facts. But he's the one that put all the facts out and told the world that Amber was committing fraud. And if we didn't have Adam Waldman, we wouldn't have known that we were all lied to and snookered by Amber Heard. So I found it pretty offensive that they gave that one to her. I thought that was offensive. I think he's a hero. I think he's a very decent human being to do what he did. He didn't get anything out of it. He literally, and in some ways, he kind of hurt his professional reputation. So no, he did it because it was the right thing to do. He did it because she was committing fraud. He believes that it was all contrived. And I've got to tell you, I wouldn't argue with that point very hard. It looks very convenient. And the way she said, oh, there's never been this much evidence against blah, blah, blah. And I thought, oh, really? How would you know? Like, what a weird thing to say when you're dealing with PTSD from raid by bottle, right? So weird. None of it matches. Her body language is not in accordance. It's incongruent to her words. It's, it's not, doesn't work. It's not real. I am not finished with analyzing the testimony and the courtroom. I'm not finished with that. I mean, in fact, I think you could do a whole new channel and only go through, Johnny Depp trial content and keep it active for a year. So there'll be I'm going to do a lot of trial analysis related to it, statements and whatnot that were done. And then we're also gearing up for the whole Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell circus. That is coming. And yeah, so that's kind of, where we are. I got some more messages, people asking me why I'm not talking about Uvalde. And I can't. That's why I cannot talk about it. I'm talking about, it would be inappropriate for me to comment on what happened in Uvalde. So I've done one video where I just kind of talked about what was being talked about in the news, how it happened, and that I'm not going to go to. Yeah, Caledonia. I watch Emily. And I've started watching Tragos, the lawyer, started watching him. He's very professional, right? He's very professional. So his information is really solid, really good, but there's not a lot of goofy joking around, kind of, but it, it's all about personality, what you prefer. I like Emily Baker because she's she's unencumbered. She speaks her mind and says what she wants to say, and she's funny, and so she's probably my favorite. Showing support to DUI guy because I think he did a really good thing going into the court every day and was ultimately betrayed. So I do make sure that I watch all of his shows. Yeah. So that's who I've been watching. It will be interesting to see which attorneys do the Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell case. That would be interesting. Yeah, Mr. Tragos is incredibly handsome. I'm not surprised at all that Beverly Hills, what is it? Beverly Hills Attorney Legal Society, something like that. I'm not surprised at all that they got him and Emily D. Baker to comment on the Depp trial. There were a lot of other attorneys with many more subscribers, but he's by far movie star handsome. Yeah. So I wasn't surprised. He'll be a face. He's going to be. Yeah, sure. Tug is awesome. I'm going to tell you the truth about Rakita Long. That is a channel for men. because they get a little rough sometimes. Their jokes are a little off color, and that's okay. I'm not being, a Karen. They certainly are funny, and but sometimes it's just a little uncomfortable, and you're just kind of like, okay, well, RAPE should never be joked about, right? I mean, I believe that. I think it's just like a school shooting. There should never be jokes about a school shooting. There are some sacred things in the world, but they don't work sacred at Rakita Law. They're pretty they're funny, and they have a lot of fun, and they're smart. But it's just kind of more like man type of humor. And like I said about Tragus, he's professional. He's really, and I'm going to tell you this part too with the lawyer. I love when his dad gets on and they start talking, because they often will disagree, right? And that's really valuable to me, because you get to see two sides, two well thought out, well educated opinions on the same subject. And I think that's something people need to develop an appreciation for. Is no, you really can disagree and both people still be in the right. I don't know where this weird thing came from, that nowadays, if we don't believe the same, we've got to hate each other. It is just not true. And I think that, when he and his dad start having the conversations, I think it's really interesting and healthy, to watch them debate whatever, their position is. So I really like his dad, and I mean, I really like him too. But if I look true here, if I have worked 10, 12 hours and I'm whomped out and I'm just ready to try to get my mind off everything and fall asleep, Tragos is probably going to be it, because it's calm, and eventually I'll be able to sleep. But if it's Saturday and I'm hanging out, whatever, then I'll turn Emily Baker on, because she's entertaining. It's amusing. So, okay. And yes, I know, ladies, I know Mr. Tragos is a very attractive man, and his children are also movie star gorgeous. And so I would assume his wife is probably drop dead gorgeous as well. But yeah, no, he's definitely got it. If you want to talk about, building a professional social media presence on your profession, he definitely has it. He definitely can do it. And that's probably what they're doing. They're probably using their YouTube stuff as advertising for their firm. A lot of people do. And then there's even more people like me. They don't want their social media stuff to be connected. They just want to be themselves and enjoy social media like everybody else is enjoying it. So, but I think for him, I think he's actually, the YouTube stuff is part of the work, I think, for him. Oh, you did, Strawberry? Yes. Yeah, because the kids are so pretty. The kids are just perfect. Like, they look like computer generated children. Recently had his wife on to celebrate 100,000. She's gorgeous too. I guess I'll have to go up there and look for that one. Yeah, it is horrible what happened, Caledonia. Yeah, it is. And I gotta be careful what I say. There are ongoing investigations into several people. There were strange things that happened in the neighborhood. And that's all I'm going to say. I like Popcorn Planet. Really keen on Alterner. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think she's very loud and her accent is over it. I like her, Lainey. She's so energetic, right? But she bring, and then when you have Alternerd and It's Kim, they're sort of they're a balance to one another. And I think that's what makes it interesting, because you get this really good, relaxed, calm content, but then Steph is forceful and kind of wakes you up. So it works. It's a really Popcorn Planet. If y'all haven't watched it, you should go and give it a try. He has put together a very interesting assortment of personalities, and it works. It all really, really works. And Runkle of the Bailey, if you want good, high quality knowledge, Runkle of the Bailey is where you need to go, because he's no nonsense. He doesn't like choose up his preferences. He just sort of is like this encyclopedia of law knowledge. So that's a great one too. Yeah, absolutely. Steph is great. She's from West Yorkshire. I'm from South Yorkshire. Her accent is real. Her accent is real. Yeah, and sometimes, especially like I'm, from the South in the United States, and if I'm not careful, I sound like Scarlett O'Hara, and so I have to be really careful with my accent. When I go over to London or to England, some people I have no trouble hearing. I'm fine. But other times I've just got to really hone in because their accent is so heavy. I have the same experience in Scotland. When I go to Scotland, some people, it's just, I don't care what you say, they're not speaking English. So I don't know what they're speaking, but it's not English. So yeah, but no, I like Steph, the altar nerd, because she's a really, exciting, energetic, and she's joyful. She's, she's very strong in her opinions. That's for certain. But all right, well, we've done a little bit of everything during today's hour and a half. And so you guys are awesome. I really appreciate you sticking it out. If you would you please give a thumbs up or a thumbs down? I would really appreciate it. And please, always, I read my comments. I hope you'll leave a comment or an opinion. Tell me what you want me to talk about related to the Johnny Depp testimony and trial, and I'll be sure to focus my attention on it. I will be back, no question, because today I am off. I mean, not one single thing do I have to do for work. Can you believe it? Not one. I'm a free woman today. So there will be another video later on this afternoon. I will be going through some of Amber's testimony and talking about inventing a story on the fly while she's actually on the stand, making things up, and how badly it hurt her. All right? Okay, please hit the thumbs up. I'm begging and pleading. I'm on my knees. I promise I'll throw gold coins to all of you. No, maybe not that, but please, just a little tiny thumbs up. It would be a great help. I'd appreciate it. And everybody, I will see you guys this afternoon. Thank y'all for being here. Have a wonderful Friday.